So in the last video, I said December was going to be a slow month and I only had one shoot on the books, which is on the 19th. Now today is Sunday the 8th, but I just got a call for a shoot that starts tomorrow. So batteries got to get on the chargers. We've got to get gear packed up and organized, and we have a ton of pre-production work to do. Let's get into it. So here's what I know. The shoot tomorrow afternoon is for a local church that has a marriage ministry called Reengage. And Reengage kicks off again in the new year, I think in January or early February. So this piece is supposed to highlight the ministry and help drive people towards sign up. From what I understand, it's a 2 to 3 minute piece that's going to go out through social media and through email. So the part we're shooting tomorrow is an interview piece in a couple's home that's been through the program. So sort of testimonial, capturing their story, but really the entire piece is more like a branded content, mini documentary, you could say. This couple is gonna be, their story will sort of be the through line for the whole piece. So we'll capture interview, ask them about their experience, about their marriage, capture a lot of B-roll of them living life together. And then later, probably sometime later this week, we'll capture interviews from people who actually run the ministry, who run the programming, and weave that into a 2 to 3 minute final video. Now, normally with a branding content piece like this, I would work through that whole pre-production template that I showed you in the last video, but because of the condensed timeline, I've just written down a couple of the most key questions that I really need answers to, and I've sent these off to the client. Now, I haven't received answers back, but hopefully I'll get those tomorrow morning. I'm showing those here on the screen. So what I'm trying to do is really distill down to the purpose, to the theme, to potentially any conflict, anything that can kind of help make this a story or make this a really interesting narrative that will draw the viewer in, that will evoke an emotional response and help me ultimately understand what questions to ask in my interview and what B-roll to shoot tomorrow. Now, gear is one of the things that gets a little complicated on shoots like this because I don't actually know the full scope of what I'm trying to capture or what even the location is gonna look like. I haven't actually been in the home. I haven't had time to do a location scout. It's hard to know exactly what to bring. So I end up having to pack a little heavy, especially when it comes to lighting, diffusion, grips. So 300, 100, we'll probably bring the 500 as well, just to make sure. Once again, I have no idea what the conditions will be like. Probably bring a couple 2-foot tube lights just in case I need to light the background. Now, thankfully, actually, that practice we did in that last video might be really applicable here because we're probably gonna be in a kitchen or in a living room or a home, and hopefully now we know how to execute a beautiful lighting setup. Now, it's pretty much the same story when it comes to grip. Once again, I don't know exactly what I'm gonna need, so pretty much I have to overpack. But thankfully, I keep most of my gear already pretty much ready to go. So let me show you what we got here. Most of my gear kind of stays and lives in these couple bags in this area right here. Of course, I have my sandbags, throw those in the car in the morning. Then I just have these 2 newer C-stand bags. They've done a pretty good job for me. This one is a little more of my catch-all. You can see I have a couple tripods, boom pole, my tube lights are in there. I have 1 C-stand in there. I also have a slider, miscellaneous gaff tape. There's some diffusion. There's some negative fill. I mean, all sorts of random odds and ends in that one. And then this one is generally my stand. So 2 C-stands, 2 light stands. I have the boom arms in there, kind of knuckle heads or grip heads, not knuckle, grip heads, a couple clamps for frame. And of course here I have a little bit of diffusion. This is just extension cords. And then of course the trusty sack. All right, happy Wednesday. So we have a lot to catch up on. That shoot was Monday night, and that shoot ended up being actually a lot harder than I had kind of anticipated. So while I wait for my windows to defrost this morning so I can drive into work, let me tell you a little bit about it. Now, originally that shoot was supposed to be late Monday afternoon, but it got pushed back till Monday evening. That just meant we were on a little bit of a time crunch because I had to be home by 6 p.m. because that's when my wife started work and I had to be with the kids. So just one of the pieces of navigating, working multiple jobs, having a family, and trying to build this video career. So there are other obligations, there are other responsibilities that are going to come up. And then there was a big curveball that I wasn't expecting. They have a little baby that was home with them. And so that that meant we had to pivot because there was a baby kind of in and out of the interview shot, climbing, crying, wanting a bottle, banging on things. Just, I mean, being adorable, right? The kid was so cute, but just makes for a more challenging filming environment, both on the audio and the video side. So I'll show you some stills of kind of what we were working with. You know, they have a gorgeous home, and so I'm actually really happy with the image. This is just one key light. I put some negative fill right behind the cameras to block some spill from some windows that were coming in. But that was it, just two cameras. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I put this main angle on a slider. And I don't know if I regret that or not. So let me know in the comments below what you think about sliders and whether or not this was a good idea. But two cameras, one key light, little bit of negative fill, super simple setup. And I'm pretty happy with the image. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't actually able to get a ton of BTS of this shot. I actually hardly got any at all, just this one clip that I'll kind of show you, which actually shows nothing. I was trying to be discreet and respectful since we were in somebody's home. I just always feel a little weird about whipping out my iPhone and trying to film some BTS of what I'm filming of them. So I'll try and do a better job. As you can see, I actually have all my gear with me, and we have our second shoot for this piece today. So excited about that. Today we're actually filming the gentleman who runs the entire ministry, who runs the marriage ministry. So it'll be sort of our expert interview, and hopefully now that I have kind of the main testimonial, I guess, interview filmed, I can really tailor the questions to fill in the gaps in the story and to help round out the piece as a whole. All right, so we just wrapped on this second interview shoot. Wanted to quickly show you what the setup was. We ended up going with the book light, Sony FX30, just up into a 4x4 bounce and then through a big 8x2 camera setup. We have the FX30 here as our A cam, and then we have the A7IV, and I actually have the Helios lens on here for this B cam just to add some visual interest. And then, you know, boom mic, hair light, nothing too crazy, and then kind of a decent visual background. So I'll show you what that image looks like on the screen now. But this was the setup. I think it worked out pretty well. I think I'm pretty happy with it. So let me quickly walk you through what the edit looks like, because I am handling every piece of this video: pre-production, production, and post-production. So jumping into DaVinci, you can see I have 3 different timelines running. I have my all footage, my cut down, and my selects. Here on the all footage, that's just dumping everything that I've filmed so far. So you can see between the 2 interviews, we're sitting, I mean, there's a little bit of space here in the timeline, but you know, just over an hour's worth of footage. And ultimately we have to narrow that down to a final 2 to 3. I mean, we could probably push 4 minutes max video. So what I'm essentially doing here is just kind of bringing the pieces of the interview that I'm most interested in into my cut down. So I've taken out all of the fluff, all the in between, all the questions, and I've used these markers to just sort of mark spots that look like they could have some really interesting pieces that might work well for the finished product. And then I cut those out and bring them over to a selects timeline where I'm sort of building out some semblance of what the final piece will look like. So now I have music underneath, and I'm starting to put these pieces, these quotes, where they might actually fit on the timeline as a whole. So we're almost done with this process. Now, the one thing we have to figure out still is we've had to pivot the creative on this project. The original idea was to film a bunch of B-roll and kind of turn this into sort of a mini doc style of following the story of this couple. However, just because of time constraints and you know, challenges with audio and interview and having the baby around, we weren't able to capture a lot of that footage. So we're gonna have to go in a different direction for creative. Now, I think we're gonna have to go pretty abstract, which will actually be fun. We're gonna try and film that here in a couple days. So stay tuned to see where we end up going with that. But overall, you know, pretty happy with how the content has turned out. I think this is gonna be a really cool piece. I'd love to hear your thoughts just on this whole process down in the comments below, because I'm absolutely still learning, and I appreciate all of your feedback and expertise as we're in this journey together.